Welcome to Paint Ed. PCA provides painting contractors with connections they need to grow their business. To find out more and to become a member, visit pcapainted.org. Find more great content just like this on PCA Overdrive. A subscription to the platform is included with membership. For all you non-members out there, sign up for a free trial. PCA Overdrive is available on the App Store and Google Play. This episode is brought to you by Benjamin Moore and Sherwin-Williams.
Consistency is key. You have to build something sustainable and make it a lifestyle change. It's not an extreme. It's not a fad diet. Consistent and sustainable long-term is the goal. We know that we're making progress every single day, and we're better off now than we were 6 months ago. It's about balance, right? Our worst days, arguably right now, are better than what our best days probably were a year ago. Welcome back to the Elite Business Advice Podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host here of the podcast. So I want to talk a little bit about your health and fitness today. Now, I'm not going to come at you and say, you got to lose weight. You got to work out 6 times a week. You got to eat nothing. That's not what I'm talking about. But when we started this podcast over 260 weeks ago, which is crazy to think about, I wanted this to be a podcast where we talked about tactical things like we cover with marketing and sales and production and people management in your painting company. But we also wanted to cover different things that affect us as entrepreneurs, right? Early on, we did an episode about mortgages and how entrepreneurs, have to deal with that much differently than people that just have a traditional W-2, job, a wage, salary, right? We wanted to bring in people that talked about health insurance and how that affects entrepreneurs and all these different things, right? And so that was the goal. And some of you guys have heard kind of the journey I've been on this year with health and fitness with my good friend John McFarland up out of Livonia, Michigan, Detroit, basically. And I wanted to kind of just share a little bit about what it's been like, how we've done it, because I feel like we're starting to get some results and I feel comfortable to talk about this. Now, with that being said, you guys know that I don't just talk about things that I feel like I've perfected or I've nailed it, that a lot of what I share on here is things that have worked for me, not worked for me, that work for our clients, doesn't work for our clients, right? And so I want to just come on here just kind of here's the few things that have really helped in this journey we've been on the last 5 to 6 months. We've got enough results that whatever I'm going to share on here is kind of things I've learned that's helped us get those results. Again, doesn't mean it's been perfect, but I wanted to share the wins, the results, and I kind of broke it down into 3 things that I think are why this has been a success for both John and I over the last 5 to 6 months. So if you're wanting to get a little bit better with your health, with your fitness, I'm going to give you some just very practical, actionable items, nothing crazy, nothing extreme, just a few things to focus on that can really make a big difference here in your life through the rest of this year. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice Podcast. All right, so I know that I like to break things down in groups of 3. Some of it maybe is like OCD, comfort zone. A lot of it actually is psychology, that's typically how people learn when you put things in groups of 3. That's why we recommend things on websites. There's a lot of psychology that people learn best when there's a group of 3. That is not why there's 3 things. The reason why there's 3 things is because it wasn't just 2 and I didn't have 4. So we just went with 3 because it's really the 3 things I think are most important. So take the psychology aside. Sometimes, a lot of times I do 3 intentionally, not today. It just happens to work out because these are the 3 things that I think has been helpful for us on this journey. And so the first thing, and I think this is arguably maybe the most important one. It is the most important one now that I think about it. Tracking macros. So this is going to be very health and fitness related. There's going to be some parallels into business throughout, but to understand that macros are not macaroni, which is arguably how I got where I got to at the end of last year, health-wise. Macros are calories, fat, carbs, and protein. And I've, over, different times in my life, tracked, logged food and did MyFitnessPal, and it was just focused on calories. And it would help me. There was a level of awareness there that was helpful in those seasons, but nothing like tracking the macros, okay? There's an app called MacrosFirst that came as a recommendation from my good friends Nick Slavic and Matt Kuiper, and that's where we've been logging all this at. And what I've realized is that I was consuming a lot of fat. So as I look at this, the calories weren't terrible. And this might be why I've never experienced like any significant results. Not that it's massively significant, but like for what we've done in 5 months, like I can definitely tell a difference, like more than I've ever been able to in my life. And I think it's because of this, because I was consuming a lot of fat. I loved cheese, I loved ranch, I loved like even just eggs, right? Avocados, like things that, again, now some of that is good fat for you, but it's still fat in our diet. And so tracking the macros made me realize that I was over consuming fat, like probably twice as much as what my daily goal is right now, every day, arguably. But if I'm just tracking the calories, there's plenty of days that like my calories are within my daily calorie limit, but the fat's like 20 or 30 grams over. Okay. So I think it's important to track all of it, not just one piece of it, right? Some people try a low carb diet and they just focus on carbs or certain things. And I really think there's a lot of benefit. That's why I hear more and more people talking about macros and tracking all 4 of them. As far as how I came up with what my goal should be, it was a combination of the app itself will, give you some guidance on it. And I did some ChatGPT research, just kind of, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what my goals are, some different research on there. And, between the 2 of them, it was pretty close. And so we kind of went with that. Definitely been on a low fat diet in the days that, quite a few days I'm even under that. And that's where I think the results have kind of came from. But this whole thought of tracking this stuff comes around awareness. I'm gonna give you a few keys on if you're really wanting to get serious about this, some things that have helped. But it's all about awareness. It's the same thing with your business and job costing, right? It's all about awareness. We have to be aware of the things that we're doing. We have to talk about and just understand the numbers and the data behind it. I know it's crazy to say, but my goal was that 5 out of 7 days a week that I was within my, macro goal for the day. Okay. And I love the app because it breaks it down into breakfast, lunch, dinner, and like snack. And so you kind of have an allotment of each to kind of pace you throughout the day. But my goal was that 5 days a week, my daily, I was solid within my goal for the day on the macros. In the other 2 days, I could go over, but I still had to log everything I ate. It wasn't like, I'm going to go over today, so I'm just not going to log it, right? Because again, awareness is key. And I would catch myself as I'm logging stuff, like wow, like just reminding myself, like, yeah, this may not be good, or ooh, maybe I should get a salad instead of this, and I'm still going to go over, but it's going to be better than what it was going to be, right? And so that's been my big focus. Just a couple keys. Number 1, pre-logging things. This is huge. So Christina and I have been much better this year about planning out like meals each night. So I pretty much know like, hey, what I'm eating for dinner tonight, etc. So putting that in ahead of time, right? If I know we're making ribeye tacos at home, just one of my favorite things to cook on the Blackstone, I'll just go ahead and put that in ahead of time, right? Because steak is very high in fat. It's good protein, but it's also high in fat, right? So I'm going to put that in ahead of time. Roughly the 6 to 7 ounces I'm going to put on tacos. I'm going to put the corn tortillas in, any guac or cojita cheese, like whatever I'm putting on the tacos, I'm going to just put it in ahead of time. And then I'm going to kind of backpedal my breakfast and my lunch and snacks and make sure that I'm still in good shape. Okay. So pre-logging things has been super helpful for making some decisions earlier in the day to not just do whatever and then all of a sudden get to dinner, log it, and I'm like, oh crap, like I blew it today actually. Like I'm going to think backwards on that, right? Because then I'm still going to enjoy certain meals, right? I've heard that a lot of people talk about that, and I kind of embody that as like, if you know you're going to have lunch out somewhere or dinner out somewhere, yeah, we want to make it as good as we can, but like enjoy it, just be really good on the other meals and snacks and stuff throughout the day, right? And so, I think to me that the diet part of this has been huge. I'm going through just craziness the last six weeks or so with some travel and moving offices and trying to paint. And some of you guys have seen that on social media, just the progression of the office, and it's functional finally. But there was a lot of weeks, getting to the gym was just not happening, right? And I was kind of starting to beat myself up about it. And John made me feel better about this. At least he was like, hey, if you got to pick one or the other, right? He's like, you're probably actually doing more good for you by sticking with your diet and avoiding the workout versus working out but eating like garbage, right? And it was just a little bit of grace I needed in that season, and to kind of get back on top of things. But I think it's true. If you have to pick one or the other, the diet's the most important one, right? And again, one thing John and I've said since we started this is 4 years of bad decisions is not going to go away in 4 days, right? It's going to take time, but again, discipline, focus will be helpful. So focus on your macros, tracking it, awareness. I think that will be a huge help. Even if you did nothing else but that between now and the end of the year, I think will see a big benefit come December, whatever that means for you. The second thing that's been helpful, working out. Now, that seems like an obvious one, right? To me, there's a lot of mental benefits in that. I feel way better mentally. My ability to deal with stress and stuff is way better. And I can tell in the last month when I've kind of strayed a little bit from the workout, I've not handled it as good as I was the first 4 months of the year when I was really religious about it. And that's okay, right? Again, seasons, grace, times to reset and get back on it. But to me, my goal was 3 to 4 times per week, 30-minute workout. Some weeks I was getting 5 workouts in. I tried to get a good balance between at-home workouts, going to the gym. I always get better workouts there, right? And yeah, I'm there, I'm focused. It's just a little bit different. But one of the coolest things about this actually is the leadership. There's the physical benefits of working out, right? There's the mental health benefits of working out. And to me, the coolest part about this is seeing the way that our kids, both John and I's, have just kind of adapted into new routines, right? And so for example, our kids ask us hey, can we go downstairs and work out tonight, right? And they love going down and doing little workouts and stuff with us. Our 2.5-year-old Cooper, whenever I pick him up from school, because sometimes I'd pick him up from school, we'd go home, he'd watch a movie in our home gym downstairs. That's the main reason we put a TV in there, and eat a snack. And so he'd be like, oh, can we, go to the workout room and watch Paw Patrol, right? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, sure. And now the other day he was on the yoga mat, doing some sit-ups or bridges or something, right? And just thinking he's working out, being like dad, right? I know John shared multiple times about his kids getting into going to the gym and doing this. And so from a family leadership perspective, there's a whole nother level. If you have kids, there's a whole nother level to you working out and habits that translate over into their life. Our boy's godmom, Twyla, she's one of our best friends. Some of you guys at the retreat have met her the last couple of years. She comes and gets a bunch of content for us and stuff. But she always said, let them be the reason, not the excuse. And I love that. That's always resonated with me, right? We can use kids as an excuse why we're not going to work out, but let them be the reason that we do it, because we want to also set that example for them to have the healthy habits too. And so there's a lot more to it sometimes, but definitely working out obviously has been helpful to, burn muscle, burn fat and build muscle. And then the last one, and I've been talking about John throughout this episode, but have an accountability partner. That's point number 3, have an accountability partner. And this, honestly, I talked about how important the macros were, this is equally as important. That's when I said this is the most important, and I looked at this one and I was like, it's right there. Honestly, John, if you're listening to this, thank you, because there's no way I could have done this without you. We do a 6:30 check-in every morning. Sometimes we're in such the habit now we don't even make it till 6:30. We're already texting each other at 6 a.m. But that's part of our daily thing is we check in. Hey, did you, were you good on your macros yesterday? Did you work out yesterday? Are you on track for your goal this week? Any weigh-ins and wins and stuff. And that's been the best part about it is we'll have random texts throughout the day too. And it's talking about he sent me a text last week and was like, dude, he's like, I'm at something for his business, and he's like, they had one of my favorite bagels from my favorite place up here in Detroit, and I just sat there and let it stay on the platter, and I had a protein shake or something that he had brought with him, right? And I know how hard that is. My similar situation last week going to lunch, and like I really wanted to go to this one place. It's my favorite sandwich place over in St. Louis near PCA office, and I didn't do it because it was literally my entire day's fat in that one sandwich for lunch. So again, little wins. You got to have somebody like that to share the wins with, to keep the encouragement going. There's been plenty of times, like especially again the last 6 weeks, that like, you know, just knowing that John was sticking with it and going strong and doing this, like as I'm like navigating all this travel and stuff, it just kept me focused, right? And I think it keeps both of us going, right? And so I know there's no way that I could even think about recording this podcast or have half the results we've had. I think I'm down like a little over 19 pounds since the second week of January, and like almost 5% body fat, 4.8 or something. I don't have the last week's weigh-in right in front of me. But definitely like would not have had half of those results if it wasn't to have somebody to do this with, to feel, you know, in community with, but also to like share these wins with and just stay disciplined, right? We text even Sundays, like, I mean, pretty much 7 days a week, it seems like, checking in with each other, just staying on track. And so just know, like, if you're wanting to make some changes, again, I want to share this because, again, as people, as business owners, we have busy lives. We have a lot of stress. We can make excuses, but we can also make progress, right? I'm going to leave you with a couple thoughts, a couple mindset things that's helped us in those conversations, similar to the, 4 years of bad decisions isn't going to be gone in 4 days thought. But here's what I want to say. Consistency is key. You have to build something sustainable and make it a lifestyle change. It's not an extreme. It's not a fad diet. Consistent and sustainable long-term is the goal. We know that we're making progress every single day, and we're better off now than we were 6 months ago. It's about balance, right? Our worst days, arguably right now, are better than what our best days probably were a year ago. And that's comforting, right? We want to make progress. We want to, we always say progress, not perfection. All the little things, letting the bagel go, letting the sandwich go, not giving in to the cravings and this and that, all the little things, right? Unfortunately, again, years of bad decisions and not working out, it's not going to just go away. But when you do the right things, which is why I wanted to share this today, and you have the right people around you, you have the right mindset, it can be really helpful. And so I'm here to support you. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to share on a deeper level. If you want to reach out, DM us on Instagram, DM me on Instagram, anything like that. I'm happy to share. I'm happy to chat about this. I'm happy to keep sharing what's working as we figure this out more and more, what works, what doesn't work. And I wish you the best here on your journey in 2026. Thanks for plugging into this week's episode. I hope you're able to take a few nuggets away from it to implement into your business. Remember, knowledge without implementation is useless. If you're curious about what we do and how we help painting contractors all over North America, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. Our entire team of advisors have ran and managed painting companies just like myself and are here to help support you on your journey. We have packages available for contractors at every stage of business, from flying solo and just starting out, all the way to multi-million-dollar businesses. And lastly, if you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. Thanks for plugging in, and we'll see you back for next week's episode.
Paint Ed podcasts are produced by the Painting Contractors Association and are made possible by members and industry partners. To find out more about the upcoming educational opportunities or for more information about joining the PCA, visit pcapainted.org.